Hi, Professor Silbert here, and we're in week 4 of Humanities 1010, The Art of Being Human. And this week, I want you to open the paper that I've put together of resources. It says start here, and it talks about religion and monotheism. At the beginning, there is a picture of a labyrinth. Now, a labyrinth, to some of you, may look like a maze. But a maze is intended to get you lost. Yes, maybe there's some cheese at the end of it if you're a mouse or a rat, but you're intended to get lost in a maze. In a labyrinth, it's a totally different thing. It is a single path in and a single path out. And the goal is to let the journey be a way to meditate, to let go of things that you need to let go in order to step onto that path. And then as you arrive in the center, to begin to take on perhaps new perspectives, new points of view, something you've learned along the way as you journey out. I think it's a good metaphor for what religions try to do. Even those traditions that perhaps are agnostic or non-deistic. I know even some atheists who rely on the journey of their life, that they know they're on a path that goes from here to there. And so I think all of us are on a journey. And so the labyrinth then becomes a metaphor, and certainly this metaphor of journey is important to religions. You began that process at the end of last week as you studied Hinduism and Buddhism and the accompanying portions of the text from Handbook for the Humanities. This week, I'm having you read chapters 4 and 5, and they have to do with the monotheistic faiths that are grouped around the ancient ancestor Abraham, a wandering Aramean, and include Judaism, the oldest, Christianity, that was, at one point, early in its life, a sect of Judaism. It certainly is much bigger and broader now. And of course, then, much later, in the 7th century, Islam. All three faiths find their root in Father Abraham. And so you see that's the title for week 4, Father Abraham. But in addition to that, we move on from that to focus in particularly in Western culture on Christianity, because it is Christianity that really takes the place of the Roman culture, the Roman Empire, as it declines and falls. It was Emperor Constantine, the Roman Emperor Constantine, who declared that Christianity was now a legitimate religion in the year 313, Common Era. And from that point on, Christianity began an ascendancy until when the Roman Empire fell, it became the nexus of culture. It became the dominant thematic entity for the humanities in art, in music, in literature, in architecture, in all those pursuits, even in the world of ideas. And that lasted for over 1,000 years. And it's not until we get to the Renaissance, in and around 1500, that we begin to see the rise of the individual. And a fuller flowering of the humanities, more perhaps as we know it now. But in that period, which we often refer to as the Middle Ages, or the medieval period, it was the church that was the nexus of culture in the West. And so, all of your work this week is focused on the story of Father Abraham and of those three great religious traditions that come from him, and also the rise of the church as the purveyor, the progenitor of continuing culture in the West through the late Middle Ages into the Renaissance. So, we conclude, by the way, with Giotto. He's an Italian artist, and we have a look at one of his works in the Arena Chapel in Padua, Italy, that is very late in the later ages, in the Middle Ages, I should say, and is a harbinger of what is to come in the Renaissance. But before we get there, we're going to look at a number of different things. I want you to start with my notes on religion. It says start here on the folder. And then as you go to the video resource PowerPoint folder, follow them pretty much as I have laid them out from first to last. Giotto's the last one. And I believe it starts with the PowerPoint on the medieval church. And then there's a fabulous documentary by the BBC on building the great, Nova, building the great cathedrals. It's really cool. And it's a great look at architecture, especially that of the cathedral, and the artistic process that's involved as well. There's just a simple, amazing engineering process that's looked at, examined, but there's also the art and why the cathedral was so important in the Middle Ages. Along with that, there are companion video pieces and music clips that help support what I'm saying in the PowerPoint. The rise of music in the church, particularly it begins as plain song chant, monophony, unaccompanied voices singing one melody that is then increased or made more complex with the addition of other voices, and therefore we have what becomes polyphony. These are part of the musical signatures of the medieval church and part of the cultural products that are helping a largely illiterate population to learn the stories of the faith. You're going to look at drama, the mystery play. You're going to be looking at the illuminated manuscript and stained glass. There's a wonderful, powerful documentary, very brief documentary on how books were made in 8, 9, 10, or the 10th century, 11th century CE. We take so much for granted. That's what I said early on, getting over yourself so that we can see how other people worked hard at the things we take for granted. It's an amazing journey. And so glad that I'm able to take it with you this week. There's no discussion this week. I'm going to give you a break there this week because I want you to be studying this week, including this week for the midterm exam, which covers the 3 previous weeks we've had thus far, and this week you are looking at now. I'm going to put that exam up on the Blackboard shell probably by Thursday, and I'm going to allow that to be taken into the early part of next week. I'll give you more instructions with that, either via email or on the shell later this week. So take your time to study the exam, study for the exam, looking at what we have talked about, the PowerPoints, the various resources we've had over these last 3 weeks, including this 4th week we begin now, and take the exam, and we'll continue on our way. I look forward to getting acquainted with you again through your writing and as you take the exam, and as we certainly continue this amazing journey called the art of being human. Take care.